The day Tolu got married to Abiola, her joy knew no bounds. She was 38, the age where most of her mates had gotten married and even finished giving birth to children. God had finally heard her prayers. Her sisters and friends who were married would not have the mouth to secretly laugh at her behind her back anymore. Tolu was a beautiful woman, rich, very rich to be precise, but she was very arrogant. All the men she had dated got tired of her constant arrogance and manipulation. All the men who dated her had one thing to say: Tolu has a bad character. I can't marry such a woman. She always wanted to be in charge all the time. That is not done, one of her boyfriends had said bitterly. This is Africa. A woman is supposed to be under a man and submit to him, not the other way around. But she had looked at him, a mocking gesture on her face. Then she burst into a mocking laugh. Just look at him. Obey who? You? So if men are talking, you will open your mouth and talk to? You that are managing. Can you afford what I eat and wear? Please shut up and get out of my sight, she mocked. When another of her boyfriend had tried to tell her how a woman should behave with a man, she had snapped. Please shut up, Timothy. What can you do for me? What do you offer me apart from sex? If not for that your big cassava, what will I be doing with a weakling like you? One by one, the men couldn't take her behavior, and so they all left her. Her friends and sisters had all concluded that she would never see a husband with a bad mouth and character, but they were wrong. Tolu herself had given up on love completely. Love is not for me, she told herself, but Abiola had arrived in Tolu's life like a thief in the night. It was when she least expected it. It all happened one evening while shopping in the supermarket. Abiola had bumped into her. Everything Tolu was holding had fallen all over the floor. Tolu was mad. She insulted the living daylight out of Abiola that day, to the point that people had gathered to beg her to let the poor guy go. But what surprised Tolu was that Abiola didn't say a single word while driving back home. She observed a car was following her. So she quickly parked her car, got down and ran to the supposed stalker. She knocked loudly on the window. Who are you and why are you following me? When the car window went down, it was the man she insulted earlier. Why are you following me? What do you want? Are you a serial killer? She yelled loudly. Abiola had looked at her kindly and then asked, Are you doing okay? The kindness in his voice shocked Tolu. What do you mean? She stammered. I feel like you are a sweet soul. Maybe you're just going through a lot right now, Abiola had said, looking at her kindly. Tolu froze. No one had ever spoken to her like that. He was the sweetest person she had ever met. She didn't know when she broke down in tears. I don't know why I'm like this. I'm always so angry and bitter, she cried. Abiola had hugged her and their journey started from there. Abiola was 42. He worked as a banker and he had a son, Michael, which he had in high school when he was just 18. She had tried to make him stop working as a banker, saying she would open up a business for him, but he had refused. I love being a banker, he had told Tolu gently. I want to provide for you with my own money. Even though Tolu was far richer than Abiola, for some reason, she respected him a lot as a man. He was gentle, kind, and very considerate of people. She submitted to him naturally, which shocked even her. Abiola was the miracle that shamed her enemies. But some people wondered why a gentleman like Abiola settled for a troublesome woman like Tolu. Let's see how long they will last. Some people said at their wedding reception, while eating their wedding jollof rice, when they finally returned from their 1-month honeymoon from Paris, Tolu summoned all her domestic staffs and gave them strict instructions on what to do, especially when it came to her husband. Listen up, all of you. You guys can see that my husband is the quiet type. He doesn't like talking too much. So I want you people to be very vigilant. Do what you are supposed to do on time. Polish his shoes, wash and iron his clothes, cook his favorite meals on a daily basis, and make sure that there is always food on the table once he returns from work. I don't want to hear any other story. Do you all understand me? She instructed sternly. Tolu had somehow convinced Abiola to move into her house after their wedding, since it was bigger and better than his own house. 6 months later, Michael, Abiola's son, came visiting. At 22, he had just finished his final exams in the university. Tolu had feared that Michael would not like her, but the opposite was the case. Michael adored her. Their family was happy, laughing at dinner, watching television series together, going on short vacations together. It didn't take long before Tolu and Michael became very close. They were always together during the weekdays while Abiola worked at the bank. You know how banks are. You go early and return late. Tolu was glad that Michael was around, but soon her friends began to talk. Be careful with this boy, so he will not catch feelings for you. One of her friends had said, you spend too much time with this young man and it's not healthy. He has blood in his veins, so. Another said, concern written all over her face. But Tolu brushed it off, laughing about it heartily. He is not like that. He's just a sweet boy who loves being around me as his mother. One evening, Tolu bashed into Michael's room to show him a funny video she saw on the internet. But what she saw in the room almost made her heart stop. Michael, who had just finished having a shower, stood there naked. The phone fell from Tolu's hand. She stared at his big cassava, her mouth open in total shock. Michael quickly wrapped a towel around his waist and asked her what she wanted. But she had forgotten what she wanted. She just stared at him. After that day, Tolu dreamt about Michael every night. She had developed some strange feelings towards him, which didn't feel right. She tried to fight it, but it kept growing, and one day, she called him into her room and locked the door silently. While they talked and laughed together, she quickly leaned in and kissed him on the lip. Michael jumped to his feet in total shock. What are you doing? He asked, clearing his lips. I want you, Michael. I have not been able to stop thinking about you since I saw you that day. Please, let's just do it, even if it's once. Can you hear yourself? You sound like a mad woman. I am your stepson, your husband's son. I know, but I can't fight what I'm feeling for you. She went to him and tried kissing him again, but he stepped back, avoiding her like a plague. I can't do this to my father. Never. He unlocked the door and left the room. Their relationship dwindled like a local lamb out of kerosene. Their once innocent bond disappeared as Michael avoided her like a plague. Dinner time became awkward and Abiola wondered what happened between the two. But when he asked them, they said, nothing. With Tolu telling him that everything was okay. Tolu wanted Michael so bad that she began to beg. But no matter how she begged, Michael refused her request. However, when the way she approached him didn't work out, she decided to use the hard way. She called him into her room one hot afternoon. When Michael entered the room, he saw her laying stark naked on the bed, her legs spread wide open. Michael stood by the door, stunned. You don't have to sleep with me, Michael. All I want you to do is fuck me, she said casually, looking down at her private parts, flashing him a seductive smile. My money will be yours. All you have to do is just do as I say. Michael shifted uncomfortably. Why are you doing all this? He asked. See, I will give you 5 million naira if you suck me right now. Michael's mouth dropped. He had never seen that kind of money before. He has not even seen 500k, let alone 5 million. Tolu saw that what she was doing was working, so she pressed on. It's not like we are having sex now, so we are not doing anything wrong. Tolu continued, observing the confusion on his face as he opens her legs wider. Michael finally gave in. They indulged in oral sex every day until Tolu was satisfied. You see, Tolu loved oral sex so much. All the men in her life gave it to her, but not Abiola. He had made it very clear from the start that he didn't want it and he would never indulge in it. Tolu had accepted to stay without it so he wouldn't lose him. However, she had secretly wished he would change his mind one day. But now, she was glad that she found someone who gave it to her better than she had ever expected. This continued for months, and Tolu enjoyed herself every single time. But my people, how long would two people indulge in oral sex without actually doing it? It didn't take too long, my people. And so, Michael and Tulu went beyond oral sex, and then it happened. She was pregnant. She didn't know who was the father because she has been sleeping with both father and son. She kept it to herself though and continued, telling Michael that his father was the father of the baby. When she gave birth to a son 9 months later, she immediately conducted a secret DNA test. Luckily for her, the child belonged to Abiola. She heaved a sigh of relief and life continued. Tolu loved her baby so much. Her world revolved around him. She never knew she would love another human being so much. She adored him with everything in her. To secure his future, she had willed almost all her belongings and assets in his name. She opened an account for him and even transferred all her money into the account in case something happened to her. 1 year later, she had left her baby at home with his father and Michael. She had gone to clear her goods at the port. While at the port, all she could think about was her baby. She was all smiles and was always rushing home so she could see him. On that day, when she returned, the house was empty. Everyone seemed to have disappeared. Where is everyone? She asked herself while trying to call Abiola, but it went straight to voicemail. She tried calling Michael too, but it was the same thing. Panic began to set in. What is happening? Just then, she saw her domestic staff return to the house. Where have you all been? She yelled angrily at them. Ah, madam, Oga asked us to accompany him to the airport though. Tolu's heart sank. Airport? What is happening there? She asked with her heart racing. Big Oga and small Oga and the smallest Oga have traveled out too. Why are you asking, madam? Didn't you know? Tolu ran into the house like a madwoman. On the edge of a luxurious bed lay the note. With shaky hands, she picked it up and it said, "The joke's on you. How dare you sleep with me and my son? You are worse than Jezebel. Thank you for giving me a son. At least, you are not all that useless." Tolu let out a scream. She ran like a madwoman into her baby's room, but everything was gone. All her expensive jewelry, money, bags and shoes. They took everything and absconded without a trace. You see, when she gave birth at the hospital a year ago, she had complications during giving birth to a baby, and the doctor had told her that she wouldn't be able to have another baby ever again. She was glad that she had at least one child, but now that reality had crashed. What Tolu didn't know was that Abiola had found a condom under their bed, which Michael had forgotten, and Abiola never used a condom. Determined to find out what was happening, he had placed a hidden camera and had caught them in the act. Abiola was mad. He felt betrayed by his wife, by his own son. He had confronted his son whom he had known all his life, and when he confessed everything, how Tolu pressured him into everything, he was so angry. That happened when Tolu had newly found out she was pregnant. When she had given birth to the child, Abiola too had secretly conducted his own DNA test and found out that he was the father. So to put it simply, he had known for over 1 year that Tolu was messing around with his very own son, but he never confronted her or asked her anything. He waited, planning his perfect revenge. Tolu began to run around, trying to get her baby back. He couldn't imagine life without her baby. She hired a private investigator, but they couldn't find anything on Abiola and her baby. She wept every day, crying and yearning for her baby. The grief became so much that slowly she began to lose herself. Desperate, she went on social media and confessed everything to the public in hopes of reaching Abiola. She cried and begged for forgiveness. She even begged everyone to help her beg Abiola to return her baby. But instead of helping her, people began to throw all kinds of shade and insults at her. "You are worse than the devil. How could you do that to someone who loved you?" One user had said. "You deserve what you got. Serves you right, you devil," another user had said. Slowly, with everything happening all at once, Tolu had slid into depression. Her friends and family tried everything they could to help her, but Tulu didn't get better. Instead, she got worse. She was admitted in a psychiatric hospital, hoping she would heal there and start afresh, but it never happened. For 10 years, Tolu lived in the hospital, calling out her son's name every day, imagining what he looks like now after 10 years. She sat at the door every day, looking out the pavement that led to the road, hoping Abiola would return with her son, but he never did. 12 years later, after Abiola disappeared with her baby, one fateful evening, Tulu was found hanging from the ceiling in her room. She had taken her own life. On the bed lay a short note she had written. It said, "This pain is too much for me. Let me go home and rest. Abiola, I forgive you for taking my source of joy away from me. And I forgive myself for hurting you that much. Please take care of my son. I hope he is happy. In my next life, I want to be a better person." Some nurses had broken down in tears as they read the notes. Tolu was pitiful. Her life had taken such a sad and tragic turn, and they all felt sorry for her. That evening, as her sisters tried to take her body out of the hospital, Abiola and Tolu's son came to the hospital. Everyone looked in shock. "Finally, he is here," they whispered. Abiola had finally had it in him to forgive Tolu, but he came too late. He broke down when he saw Tolu on the stretcher. She was a total contrast to the woman he knew. There was this sadness on her face. Her sister gave him the note, and he cried bitterly while reading it. Abiola whispered something in the boy's ears, and he walked slowly to where Tolu led. He held her hand gently and said, "Mommy." And just then, it seemed like the sadness on Tolu's face had disappeared. She looked peaceful, almost like she was smiling. Finally, her heart was at peace. She could now rest in peace.